thank you so much, Dr. Saha, for being on TeqTalk. Really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
By the way, beautiful office, cozy, nice place.
Thank you. We just got this actually.
Okay, that's great and congratulations. Your career journey is really inspiring. It is the blueprint of what's happening in the cloud and AI evolution, right? So from Intel to Nvidia to AWS, where you were leading multi-billion-dollar platforms like SageMaker, Bedrock, and Q, and now at DigitalOcean, you're channelizing more than 2 decades of your experience and making cloud and AI much more simplified, much more affordable, and radically being used by everyone, right? So tell me a little bit about what made you move to DigitalOcean. What exciting is happening here?
I think if you look at the cloud, and this was true even when I was at AWS, the number one pain point people talk about is complexity. Complexity of using the cloud and so much. And that's true of all the hyperscalers, right? And I think one of the things that DigitalOcean got right was they focused on that from the beginning. Like they are known for ease of use. They're known for lowering costs. They're known for lowering the time to value. Like typically getting started on DigitalOcean will take you less than half the time of any other cloud. So they have fundamentally been addressing the problem that has been a big pain point. If you look at our customer base, by number of customers, we're the third largest cloud in the world. We have 640,000 paying customers in 190 countries.
Wow, that's
So we have a really good customer base. And I feel like now, over the last year, we've launched some really transformative products. We've really kind of changed the way we operate. And I just feel like we have a unique opportunity now to even reinvent how the cloud operates. And given the existing customer base we have, and the focus on the ease of use, and I think this new generative AI wave will be about ease of use even in the cloud. So it just feels like a good match there.
yeah. So that excited you to move on to DigitalOcean and contribute to make it to another level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Let's deep dive a little bit on the platform and the offerings which DigitalOcean provides. Like how you mentioned, your customer base is massive, right? You have been able to reduce the cost. So some of the offerings I was researching about the offerings, and I found that the GPU compute, Nvidia and AMD, to lower the cost by almost 80%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's such a great news, right? It's a kind of democratizing of the cloud services. So very interestingly, tell me, how do you know what you have to build and what do you have to avoid?
I think a lot of this is really driven by our customers. And, we have a focus. We were developer focused. We're now becoming more like digital native enterprise focused, so moving up market. The fact that we go for digital natives kind of simplifies a few things for us, right? We are going with customers who are not dealing with a lot of IT legacy, not dealing with a lot of IT sprawl. These are customers who have gone in the cloud. They have, quote unquote, modern IT systems. And so the surface area of what you have to address is smaller. The market segment is still very big, but the surface area of the features and the complexity is much smaller. And so I think that makes it easier for us to come up with products that can reduce the cost and the complexity. And in the case of the GPUs, we think, just like you said, democratizing AI is the biggest thing. Like you can't have AI just be with a few large companies.
Exactly.
And cost is a very big factor in that. And one of the things that also helps us is that we are really focused more on inference, not really on training, because we think that is where the world will go. If you have to get value from AI, you have to use it. The only way to use it when you're using it is basically inference, right? So we are focused on inference. With inference, we are able to kind of build our GPU clusters in a way that optimizes it a little bit, reduces the cost a little bit. And then, many cases we have AMD GPUs. The AMD GPUs themselves have lower TCO. So a combination of factors, which is, this is the set of customers we are going towards. They have specific needs. We can just focus on those needs. We don't have to focus on everything. we can build our products focused on those needs that reduces the cost. In many cases, we can use other GPUs that reduces the TCO. So all of this adds up. And, that is the key thing. And you asked, about DigitalOcean. We have this simplicity of use or lower cost or lower complexity. The whole thing has been about how do you democratize, up until now, how do you democratize the cloud?
Yeah.
But now the next technology that's complex and needs to be democratized is AI. And so that is what attracted me to DigitalOcean. And, and kind of that overlap helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And very well said that the world is going towards a different lens now. A couple of years ago, we were focusing more on training of models, right? And now it's more about AI agents on top of those models, where you need actually GPUs, compute, and the way DigitalOcean is providing the offerings, it is not limited, like how you have mentioned, that you are not limiting it to only certain hyperscalers. You have given it to broadly to people to, explore it, build the agents. So even an enterprise team of 2 members can just go and just start building agents, right, on top of DigitalOcean. So it is that simple. I've also read that it is just like few clicks, right? While hyperscalers like Azure and AWS, they're providing 300 plus services, but the thing which I really liked about DigitalOcean is that it is laser focused on what my customer needs and how we can make it a successful ecosystem. So tell me a couple of scenarios where customer feedback was taken into the consideration directly into your product roadmap.
Look, our customer feedback drives 90% of our product roadmap. Like,
that's pretty inspiring, I would say that.
It's central to what we do. Like when I started, for example, I sat down with the team and said, okay, what are some of the key things that, this new segment of digital native enterprises want from us? And we just went in and prioritized that. So there is some invention we do on behalf of customers. Like we think, this is where the market is evolving, market segment is evolving. And so there's some things that we might do that's a little bit ahead. Like we made an early bet on inference. We made an early bet that, look, we don't want to be building giant training clusters. And that turned out to be right. Where, we made that kind of middle of last year. So we may make some bets like that where we are saying, hey, we think there's conviction that this is where the market is going to be headed. Quite like 90+% of our roadmap is customer based. Like it's not, 1 or 2 instances. It's pretty much the whole roadmap is customer based, customer driven.
I was going through the news and publications. So what I've seen that Q1 of 2025, you have launched 50 plus or close to 50 features, right? And they are all driven for the customers and they are all driven to make this ecosystem much more stronger. So tell me a little bit more about that. Not all features we can definitely cover in this short span of time, but a couple of features which you think were the highlights.
There are, so one of the things that our customers have told us is, look, we would move more workloads to you, but, we have some legacy workloads on a hyperscaler, for example, right? And it's much easier for us if you make it easy for us to split workloads in both the clouds and give us secure dedicated connection. So we launched something called Partner Connect that lets customers do that.
Okay.
Then there is, some things around security, like, some VPC configurations and so on that we added in. That helps there. We have innovated a lot with premium varieties of compute, just more compute for larger workloads like larger databases and so on. Storage, we have been working a lot on storage because, as you look at enterprises, ultimately, it boils down to data. I want to store data. I want to get insights from data. I want to act on those insights and, I want to do AI on those insights and so on. And so the quality of storage you have, that is important. So, we have launched a lot of features, faster, like network file system, NFS.
Yes, I think that was launched like 2 days ago or so.
Probably about a week or 2 weeks ago. We launched, so we just announced, I think, archival forms of storage that reduce the cost dramatically and give you really good egress fees. And then, of course, we launched the Gradient AI platform that helps you build agents end to end. We already have, I think, close to 20,000 agents that have been built on it, and it hit GA like this last quarter. It hit.
Yeah, I was reading about Q1. There, I think it was mentioned.
Preview. We had done the private preview at that time when we
Yeah.
just launched in July.
Okay, all right. So I think there it was some 5,000 plus agents were
Yeah.
built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's 20,000.
20,000. See the rate on how it is accelerating. It's pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
And then we have a lot of GPUs, I mean, there's the latest Nvidia GPUs, latest AMD GPUs. So, I think overall we are, I mean, we are launching kind of, 5x or 6x more features than we used to before. And that's all, I mean, thanks to the team. I mean, the team is obviously doing good. But it's not just feature launch, The other thing that we've also done is really improved our availability and our stability. We now operate at like 99.95, which is better than the SLAs that the hyperscalers give you, and which is kind of similar to the availability that you would get at hyperscalers. Because ultimately, especially for enterprises, you are running a business on the cloud. And if this thing doesn't work, then no amount of features is going to help.
yeah,
So
definitely. I was going through one of the customer success stories as well for DigitalOcean, and it was amazed to see that the response time, the SLA, like how you're mentioning, that has gone so response time is like quite less, right? So in that way, you are getting immediate response. Everything is happening in the real time. That is something I think very, very important. Again, you're putting customer on top priority. So we'll talk a little bit about culture and teams in a bit. But before, I want to a little bit understand more on the platform side. What is your vision on partnering with the open ecosystem, for example, Hugging Face or AutoGen or LangChain? I know that it's already integrated. LangChain is already integrated, but I would like to know from you first.
We are very big on partnering. We think, and I think, we all have a strong conviction that there's no single company that has the monopoly of all the creativity, right? And there's just so much more creativity outside the company that the only way you can ship compelling products and ship them fast is to partner with people. So, when I started, we started a partnership with Hugging Face. We have an integration with LangChain now. We support OpenSearch, which is another partnership we do. We have partnerships on the AI side with some of our products. So we are very big on that. Like for us, I think it's one of our strengths in the sense that we are very much let's partner if we can and let's collaborate if we can so that we can get the products out quickly. And that I think is going to be key because there's just so much innovation happening in the world outside any single company that if you don't harness that, it's going to be tough to be competitive in my mind.
I think your lens of long-term vision, keeping people on priority, whether it is your customer or partnering with different ecosystem players. So people first, basically it's a people first organization. So let's move our talk towards culture and team. So from your experience back from Intel to Nvidia to AWS with all the hyperscalers, how do you see the culture here and DigitalOcean?
Every place has its uniqueness and then some things that are common, right? What we are a fully remote company, so that makes it different than any of these other companies. And so in a fully remote company, and that's not changing anytime soon. So in a fully remote company, you tend to do things a little bit different. But then there are some commonalities as well. I mean, at the end of the day, we like velocity. The engineers or employees here are incredibly creative. We do have a passion for UI and usability that is quite uncommon. This company, DigitalOcean, has a real rich tradition of building delightful things that are easy to use. And I think that is one of the core strengths and that is one of the uniqueness in terms of the focus on ease of use. I think that could be one of the things. But, every place has its own nuances. And I think we just have to,
How about the processes and all? I know that in big companies, there are a lot of processes which help them to, slow down the innovation, right? So tell me about DigitalOcean, how it's happening here.
I mean, I think, look, when you reach a particular scale, you do need some processes to make sure everything is moving in a desired direction. And when the impact of failures is high, you need to make sure there are guardrails so that failures don't happen, right? So in some ways, process is an outcome of success because you've gotten big, a lot of people rely on you, you cannot let them down. So you need to put guardrails to make sure things are happening in the right way. Um, we have also reached a scale where people are running mission critical businesses on us. And that does mean that we have to have some processes. For example, AWS was known and is known to be really rigorous about their operational stuff. And, there are some processes we have borrowed from there. Um, this DigitalOcean was good with a lot of the UX stuff. So, we have just kept it the way it is. So I think ultimately it's kind of a mixture of things. And, my hope is that you can kind of combine the best of what you get. There are things I learned at Intel, there are things I learned at Nvidia, there are things I learned at AWS, and there are things that I'm learning here at DigitalOcean. And hopefully ultimately you try to combine the best of it.
Yeah, of course. And how are you able to retain the top talent? It is when you're trying to scale in terms of business overall, your team needs to be scaled. So, what are the ways you make sure that, or the best practices I would ask, that your top talent is retained and working across with you?
I think the most important thing I would say is, are they inspired by what you're trying to build? Okay. And in most cases, what I've seen is people are looking for, am I going to be part of something big and something great and something transformation? Everybody is different. Different people prioritize different things. So it's not one size fits all, and I don't want to generalize. But to a large extent, I've seen that if you get that right, then you can attract top talent. What we are doing today is, if you look at some of the agentic work that we have just launched, if you look at today, when an incident happens in the cloud, there is an agent looking at that. In many cases, an agent will say how to help debug it, right? That is some of the most sophisticated work. And, we have some things, I've talked a little bit about it, called DO Next, where we are really trying to reinvent the cloud. And I do think we have an opportunity to do that. That mission of let's go reinvent the cloud experience and let's go address one of the hard problems. I think that mission, the progress that we have made till date, these two tell people that, look, we could be part of something great. Like, you can just have a vision, but if you don't have anything to show for it, after some time people say like, hey, is this real? But that's not the case here. I think we have a compelling vision. That has also been like, it's not just the talent, when you look at the market and look at analysts and so on, they have also, kind of said, hey, this looks pretty compelling. If you look at the progress we have done over the last year, then you can put two and two together and say, okay, you seem to be moving the right direction. You seem to be moving at a good pace. You seem to be getting results. The businesses are also showing up. If you look at a growth rate, that has gone up as well.
Of course, the growth rate, I was also pretty impressed to see the growth rate, and it is consistent, right?
Yeah. A lot of other metrics, our NDR has gone up since a year back. Our growth rate has gone up since a year back. So I think those two things is, hey, I have a good strategy and I'm executing to it in a good way. I think those two things are probably the most important. And then the next is, okay, do you have a culture? Do you care for people? We work hard. I mean, there's an intensity to what we do. But at the same time, we also know that ultimately there's an organization of humans, and people have all kinds of constraints and things they have to do and take care of the personal lives and so on. And we encourage people to do that. So I think when you have that combination, and I use kind of three words, I call them winning, growing, and caring. Those are the three pillars. Win for the customer, which is the first part that I said, strategy and execution. grow our employees. Like I and a lot of my leaders put time into that. And then the caring is really about, hey, give space to people when they need it for a variety of reasons, right? I feel like that's good enough.
That's the framework. Yeah. Great. So tell me a little bit more about it. What is the vision? I mean, only if you can elaborate now, or it's something still in the roadmap, still under discussion.
I think there's a lot of, the way we ask ourselves is, the question that I'm asking is, okay, if AI came before the cloud was built, how would the cloud look like? Right? If you built it from the ground up with AI, like AI was there, natural language was the new interface, agents were doing a lot of the work, how would the cloud look like? And I think the answer is the cloud would look very different.
Yeah.
And I think the advantage that we have, as opposed to any of the hyperscalers, is that, we don't have like nearly 2 decades of legacy. We don't have like, millions of customers with legacy stacks that are hard to change. Okay. And so when you ask that question, well, if I were to build an AI first cloud, how would the cloud operate? How would the cloud look like? What would the UX be? How would developers be interacting with that cloud? I think the answer is it would be very different than what it is today. And that is what Dio Next is. We have started kind of working on it. We have launched one or two other services that would be part of it in terms of reinventing the stuff. And I just expect to see a lot more of it over the next 18 months.
Oh, great. And how about the enterprises, those who are already using Hyperscaler? How easy is for enterprise to move from the legacy, Hyperscalers to DigitalOcean? Is it like few clicks again, or it's gonna?
It's not a few clicks, but it's not very hard. Like we have had dozens of customers move now. I mean, we have many customers moving.
If you would like to share any story or any
Bycat is one of them. Nobit is one of them. We talked quite a few about them in Deploy. Each one of them have been getting 30, 40, 50% reductions in TCO. We just had one move from one of the hyperscalers, hopefully we'll announce one of a really large customer that hopefully we'll announce in the next few weeks. So we used to have feature gaps, which thanks to the work that the team has done, we are closing. And now you have a really compelling feature set. We used to have availability gaps, which we have pretty much closed. And so now people look at us and say, hey, why won't I be paying 40% less?
Yeah.
Right. And so, so people are in, it's a standard cloud migration process. That's not a few clicks. You still have to migrate your workload. But like, for example, a storage API is consistent with S3. So that there's a reason for doing that. And, we are building in some other tooling to make it easier to do that.
Yeah. I think that is going to be another massive differentiator in the ecosystem. And costing is again one of the things which I wanted to touch because any product, if you see, not only cloud product, but any product, if you do not have the pricing metrics proper, you just cannot sell it. And I've been seeing a lot of products in the market, and the pricing metrics is so sad, and they keep on evolving. The first thing customers see is the pricing. And how complex is that? How many people need to be involved in that, right? So I think these are the couple of factors which are very, very important.
I read some stats somewhere that 70% of companies have a FinOps team or are going to build one. That's a team that is just optimizing your cost. That's not adding any value to your cloud infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right? If you're using DigitalOcean, you don't need a FinOps team. We have flat pricing.
Yeah.
We don't charge fees for egress within the data center. We have flat egress fees. So, there's a chart that I have. I actually showed it in the Investor Day where, you look at our pricing and you compare it with someone else's pricing and you see we have an order plan which is simpler. And so you don't need that.
You do not need FinOps. You do not need CloudOps. So
yeah, you can substantially reduce all of those teams. And that is where the core TCO comes in. Because, it's not just that infrastructure cost is lower, it's that your operational cost is much lower.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I would like to touch base on how DigitalOcean is helping in making or scaling the POCs from dev or the lower environment to the production. So most of the cases you see, and the stats we all know that 60-70% of the POCs, they never scale to production, right? So do you think it's right to say that with DigitalOcean's features and democratizing, now the rate would go a little down, people will be able to scale?
I believe so. That's that a part of part of the reason that things don't go from POC to production is one is the problem is said may be hard, the data may not be there, and so on. So there is that inherent portion, but a large portion of it is I didn't know how to make it to work, right? It gets down to complexity, and I think that portion certainly we address. We address in a very unique way and in a very comprehensive way, and I do think that the success rate is much higher on DigitalOcean. That's what our customers have told us, that the success rate is much higher on DigitalOcean.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree to it. So what is the vision for DigitalOcean for next 3 to 5 years?
I think there are really three, I guess, foundation pillars. One is we are going to continue to move upmarket towards digital native customers, features that larger enterprise customers need, because they have been telling us, look, we would like to also have a cloud that is easy to use and that's cheaper to use, right?
Who won't like it?
Everybody wants it, right?
Who wants?
So we just want to keep adding the features that we need to get them. So that is one vector. The second vector is just building out our AI capabilities, and it starts with the AI infrastructure, which is GPUs and some software optimizations that we put on top of that, but also this end-to-end agent development platform, because we think that is where AI is headed. Like, people want to do useful work.
That's where Gradient AI is launched.
Right?
It's a pretty recent development feature.
Yeah. So we launched it this year. And that is really for, look, ultimately AI takes off if you can use it in the form of embedding AI inside useful apps. So that's the second thing that we're looking at. And then the third thing that we're looking at is the DO next, which is, look, over the next 18 months, 24 months, it's going to be kind of these, the core cloud, GPU infrastructure, then you get to the gradient AI, agentic, and then really reinventing the cloud, which is the DO next. So I think those are the three pillars. And then kind of a horizontal activity that we do all the time is just becoming more efficient operationally. That improves our gross margins. Like, we have significantly improved our data center of operational efficiency. So I think those are the top things.
Top things. Great.
Thing that I would say is we are today a very different company than we were, right? We bring you the cost, more than the cost, it was the ease of use and the TCO advantages that DigitalOcean also
The whole experience.
The experience, yeah, that's a great way to put it. Along with the feature set and the robustness that enterprise customers need, right? And I think that combination is pretty unique. There are not too many people that can do that. And so I think, for everybody hearing this, look, improving your developer productivity and reducing your cost is always a good thing. So, you should check us out. The other thing that we'll say is the way we have been thinking about where AI is headed. Our AI is not just about, hey, let's still go buy GPUs as much as we can and then sell them. Our AI is, yes, we are building an infrastructure. We have a lot of customers there. We will keep doing that. But we also realize that is a means to an end. The end is, let me build interesting applications that use AI to do something useful, which, some form of agentic applications. And the way we are building out the platform, kind of the ease of use is the first thing. We have a couple of features there that are really interesting. I think these are all things people should check out.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Saha, tell me, what advice will you give to the CTOs or the leaders of the organization, those who are starting new, those who are stepping up and starting up building AI agents?
I think the first thing I would say is if, assuming you're kind of asking this about companies, is understand what your customer needs or wants. Like, what is the actual business problem or the pain point that you're trying to solve? And make sure it's an important enough pain point that people will be willing to, be customers of your product. I think that's the first thing. And if you don't get that right, then it's hard to get everything else right?
It's
That's
hard
the
to
first
get
thing.
the business is hard to have the proper vision.
Yeah, or even to communicate what you're building
Yeah.
and get people excited about it. Then once you've done that, and then you of course have to build it, and that's an important part of it. But an equally important part is how do you reach out to customers? I think I talk to a lot of product people, especially technology people, and for many of them, it kind of ends at, okay, I built the thing. Building the thing is half the problem. In many cases, it's not the bigger half of the problem. Bigger half of the problem is, how do you package it in a compelling way so people notice it, kind of the marketing aspect of it. And then how do you make it easily available to customers, which is the sell side of it, so that they can use it. And so, it's important to really think through the end to end, the build, the market, and the sell part of it. And then I think in today's world, it's how do you quickly iterate on the customer feedback you're getting, right? Because it's very hard to just come out with a perfect product. There might have been only, like a handful of products that really came out and,
100% successful.
and just,
And I don't think there would be any
I mean, there are some that probably hit the mark really well. Like if you think of the iPhone, it hit the mark really well.
But
ChatGPT it above in a really good way. But typically, products, you have to refine them. And so, to me, the way I look at it is launch is not the end, it's the beginning. It's the beginning of the journey where the customer is giving you feedback and you're iterating. So I think that's the last part that I would say is, hey, treat the launch as the beginning. And, the success depends on how quickly you're iterating on what your customer is asking you to do.
Yeah, I think I completely agree on what you have mentioned, especially with the feedback thing, because no product would be 100% successful if you do not reinvent it again and again with the feedback from the real customers. So, also from your experience from different hyperscalers to DigitalOcean, tell me a couple of pivotal moments that have really shaped your way of thinking what innovation is.
I think so early at Intel, I worked on a project and it was a binary translation project, related project. That was technically pretty challenging and very exciting, and I was really excited by the whole thing when it
And
worked.
you're talking about 20 years ago?
Close to, yes, close to. And I was very excited by the whole thing when it actually started working, but it never made it to product. Okay. And never made it to product because it just the leadership at that time just felt, and rightly so, that it would be too hard to validate it. I mean, validate it in the way. So the first thing I learned was, look, you got to build something that you can really validate at scale for people, the user experience, the whole thing, right? Then there were multiple instances where we built a technology, but we didn't really address a powerful enough pain point, or we didn't really define the pain point well, or we didn't really define the market segment well, and so on. So I guess what I'm saying is one of the lessons I've learned is, don't get too hung up on the technology. First is you need to know that, it's not just good enough to build a POC. What does it mean to launch it at scale? Like if it happens successful, you need to be able to ship to hundreds of millions of units or people or whatever.
For that reason, you mentioned that know the problem first, understand what's going on.
First is, can I ship it at scale?
Yeah.
Whether it's a validation issue or a cost issue or something else, can I do it at scale?
So marketing analysis need to be done first.
Yeah, can I do it? Then the second is, well, if I can do it, is it useful enough? Which has two parts to it. One part is, does it solve enough of a person's pain point, and do I solve enough people's pain point? Okay. Is it useful enough, right? And then the third part is, okay, I did something, but in today's world, things move very fast.
Yeah.
Someone else could easily copy it.
That is what my thing was coming in my mind. That's gonna be my next question to you. All right, continue.
Someone else can easily copy it. And if someone else easily copies it, do you really have any differentiation? So how do you make sure that there is some amount of durability to what you're doing? And then the final thing I would say is this notion that launch is the start. It's not the end. Many people think, oh, I've launched and, done and all that. And in almost and I've, been fortunate enough to be part of many successful products. In every single one of them, the real activity started post-launch when, customers would use it and they would give feedback. And that's the most important thing, customer feedback. So I think those would be the most important lessons if I had to summarize it.
Yeah, cannot agree more. And thank you so much for summarizing the lessons. To one of the point where you were saying that anybody can copy. So tell me what differentiator DigitalOcean has right now. We know that simplicity, affordability, and quick installation, right? All these factors are there. But isn't there a thread that any other company or organization can just replicate same thing?
I'll say a couple of things. One is the simplicity is something that ripples through services. So you can't just build simplicity as an add-on. You have to build simplicity from the ground up, right? So let's say you're using the cloud today. You don't just use one service. You come in, you have to discover the service, the security roles have to be done properly. The way you choose an instance, they have to be simple. The way you allocate storage has to be simple. The way your networking has to be set up is simple, and so on and so forth. And if those things are complex, then it's very hard to come in and vote simplicity for this feature, because ultimately you use everything. It's a wide surface area. So if you haven't started with the simplicity concept, it is very hard to bolt it on later. And I think that the fact that we started there and we got it right there is a real durable differentiator. And there have been other instances where I had, not in the cloud era, but in other product domains where I had to go through similar experiences. And what I realized is some fundamental properties like ease of use, like cost effectiveness, often performance, often scalability. These are not things you can bolt on. These are things that you have to build from the ground up. And so when you have built that from the ground up, you have a real durable advantage against others who haven't done that from the ground up. So I do think that's a real durable advantage we have.
Great. Great to know that.
The other thing that I would say is, look, we also have DigitalOcean has 640,000 customers, as I said, right? And 3 million developers.
Yes.
These developers and these customers are also durable asset. You can't take them for granted because, customers, if they don't like your product, can leave easily. At the same time, these customers are satisfied and happy, and in many cases delighted with what we have. And so that existing base in some form of a network effect, that's also a durable advantage we have. And it gives us a really good distribution channel. Any product we launch, anything we launch in partnership.
So you have built that kind of trust in the whole ecosystem of your customer, be it the feature, be it new feature coming up, or the services where you have to support them in any of the way. They are just like 24/7 real time. Pretty simple. Might not be simple for people working on ground. They might have to work a lot and definitely go through it. But for the customer, it's pretty much for ease.
Yeah, and so that investment that this company made over the last more than a decade, that's also
that also counts. The year of experience.
Yeah,
the company was.
Yeah. And then I think the third thing that I'll say is we offer today, there are a lot of, neo clouds, GPU clouds, whatever you may call them. But ultimately, you need to build an intelligent application. And that application needs not just GPUs. That intelligent application needs not just GPUs. It also needs other stuff. Like you need the core cloud. You need databases, you need storage, because you need to use AI on some data. So the fact that we offer both is also an advantage over the niche clouds or the specialty clouds.
So what you're saying is in DigitalOcean, you can create agents, but the agents require the databases and the GPUs and all of that. Everything can be provided by DigitalOcean, and it can be, just one-stop shop.
Yes, because you're a full-feature cloud.
You are full-feature.
The hyperscalers would give a similar thing, but then there are others. Our core differentiator against them is of course a simplicity and lower TCO. And then now there are other clouds who will say we are simple and lower TCO, but they are very specialized in niche. They don't give the richness of features we give. So on both sides, we do have some durable advantages.
Absolutely, completely agree to it. Thank you so much, Dr. Saha, for all your insights. Before we actually wrap up, why not go ahead with rapid fire?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy, and I'm pretty sure our audience is going to love it. The first one, what tech tool you just cannot live without?
Well, I think for now, it's still the cell phone.
Okay.
But, I would imagine that going forward, there'll probably be these AI devices that, subsume all of that functionality and become something. But if I really thought about what is it that I cannot, or most of us cannot live without, it would probably be the mobile phone.
What is one AI trend you are seeing in 2025?
I think this move towards agents and all of the related architecture, because I do think, look, up until now, people were building big models and, bigger models and so on, and that is cool. But now these are starting to do these agents are starting to do non-trivial tasks. And that is when you start seeing AI adding value. And so I think this whole innovation towards building useful things with AI, not just building models or not just doing inference with models, is the interesting part.
Other than your 9 to 5 job, I'm pretty sure you're not even you are doing much more than 9 to 5 in DigitalOcean. But what extra things do you like to do? I have seen a couple of volunteering for IIT group and all of that on LinkedIn, but tell something interesting.
Yeah. None of us do a 9 to 5 these days. I'm sure even, you don't do, you're always on, always connected kind of a thing, if I may borrow that phrase. There's always family related stuff, doing things with the kids, with, just the family, with my wife and all that. So that, that's always there. And, you can't, you have to set aside some time for it. So, and I try to make sure that's the case. I think I'm a big sports buff. So Warriors and 49ers.
Oh, nice.
As the main ones. I also follow soccer a little bit.
Do you play or you?
I used to, not now.
Okay.
And I think reading a lot, whether it's books or articles.
I'm sure there isn't any doubt on that.
That. I think those would be I like traveling as well. Exploring new places and new cuisine and all that.
So where are you going to? Thanksgiving time.
Thanksgiving will probably be here just so that,
it's a holiday time.
Yeah, just because it's a holiday time, but,
Family time.
But, I'm pretty sure we'll find something to do over Christmas.
Great. Thank you so much for coming to the show. It was a pleasure talking to you.